Hi there, welcome to the channel. My name is Ben, and today I'm going to be discussing the new lore that dropped for Arcane Journal, Dawn of the Storm Dragon for Warhammer The Old World. And I want to be discussing what I liked, what I didn't like, what I want to see in the future, and whether or not this $30 overpriced book by Games Workshop is worth your money, if whether or not you're coming from the Total War Warhammer games, you're an old world fan, you're just coming in, you're new, or you just are like me. You love the books that you love the books that the company makes, and you just want more lore for your faction. Short answer is yes, it is worth it. If you like Cathay and you like, say, Warhammer China doing pretty well against Chaos, then yeah, I said the story and the lore was pretty good and the book is worth it. So go check it out if you have any interest in it from this video. Long answer is, you're gonna have to deal with the Chaos plot armor. You are gonna have to deal with Chaos being the favorite child. I'm only gonna be going over the story and not the rules for the book because I don't know how to play the game yet, so I don't want to put out any misinformation. So this is all about the story and whatever new lore we got when you purchase this book and you want to put it on your bookshelf. All right, let's get this BookTube and Warhammer video going. So the main story for what happens in this book is that Chaos is rising in power in the northern parts of the Empire, specifically in like the northwestern part, in Marienburg, Westerland. It's in the area where you can clearly just travel by boat and invade from the north. A Chaos Warlord called Frido, the Chainmaker, is starting to amass a large army, manages to invade the northern part, controls it for a couple of years. And when I mean years, in this book, in two passages, written in two passages, it's mentioned that she manages to conquer and remain in the area for many summers and many years. It's not even a quick raid down from Norska. She's essentially trying to be an ever-chosen and actually succeeding because no one is paying attention to her. No one really does anything about it. Wombo, the Jade Dragon, all the way in Warhammer Fantasy China, gets wind about it and sees that, oh no, this is a very bad outcome. If the Empire gets defeated by Frido the Chainmaker, then Cathay and all the other areas of the world are gonna be next. So he basically calls up, he actually calls up Miao Ying, the favorite child of the Dragon Emperor, and it's like, hey, we got some problem in the west here. You're gonna have to get a fleet and sail over there and basically beat up this Chainmaker girl, or they're gonna come after us next. And we still have the Great Bastion to worry about, the Great Wall of Cathay. And so it's like, all right, well, they're not going to do anything about it. We have to do everything about it because this is our book. So Warhammer China basically makes a fleet, sails down from the southern area of Warhammer China and happen to go all the way to Europe. She essentially travels all the way to the Empire without them calling for aid, just a surprise visit to defend them. And like that, she fights with Frido, the Chainmaker. Miao Ying fights her, and you basically just get a very ambiguous ending where it's like, did they win? Like, who won? Did Chaos win? Did Miao Ying win? Did the Chinese win? Did Marienburg survive? One could say it's a very Warhammer type of ending where no one wins and no one loses and every faction gets something. Ugh. To oversimplify the plot of this book, Chaos essentially invades the northern part of the Empire, then they move into Marienburg's territory. Cathay notices this, so they build a giant fleet, they travel half the world, they help Marienburg out. Cathay, with the power of the Storm Dragon, defeats the evil female Chaos champion in the end, and they save the day, and then they travel back to Cathay. And that's it. Alright, we're gonna get started with the most funniest thing that came out of this book, and that's just... I can't get it out just because it's so funny and unexpected. Funniest thing that came out of this book is that in the second page, in the very second page of this book, Orion gets trampled by the Beastmen. Yeah, it's not even a Cathay thing. Let me try to find it. Second page. Yep, second page. The very first lore passage is at the very end. Orion gets trampled, like right here at the very end. Orion, the demigod or the god of the wood elves, get trampled by just plain old beastmen. It's like, yep, he died from getting trampled by the beastmen because chaos was getting stronger. And this wasn't even winter. god, the cat! When I first read that, I was so surprised. I'm like, wait, I'm like, wait, did I get bamboozled? Like, did I just get scammed by James Workshop? This isn't about China, the Warhammer China. It's all about the Beastmen in the beginning. Just like, wow, the Beastmen get the best cameo in this book. And like they had the biggest flex. Just coming out swinging, our no-name background character Beastman trampled Orion to death. And that wasn't even the beginning of like the Chaos Invasion. It was just an offhanded event that was about the Beastmen, and like they don't even contribute to the main plot of the story with Miao Ying coming in to like save the Empire. Literally the prologue of the story for the Beastmen to just have an impact, or to Chaos they just have an impact. And like, yeah, they just killed Orion straight off the bat. And then the Wood Elves, you don't hear from them for the rest of the story. It's just like the Beastmen invade, like, oh, Chaos is rising, the Beastmen invaded Lorelorn Forest, and then no elves arrived to help out. And I'm like, all right. They needed to trample Orion in the forest in order to make it to the battlefield to help out Frido, to help out Frido, all right? Oh, the second funniest bit from the lore is probably the fact that when Cathay, specifically the Cathay fleet with Miao Ying in tow, arrives in Marienburg, it's written that before then, Marienburg was cloudy and didn't have any ray of sunlight for many weeks. So the moment the Cathay fleet arrives in the harbor, sunlight appears, and it's like, oh my god! It's like this holy moment. But that's not the funniest part of the Cathay fleet arriving in Marienburg, because Marienburg people don't know that Cathay is arriving, nor do they know anything about their technology or magic or flying boats or flying airships. They're more terrified of the giant rock soldiers that are kept in the ships for battle. So they're just like, oh my god, that's a giant rock statue 10 feet tall. It's as big as the ship. What are we gonna do? And it just walks on the street. The streets of Marienburg tremble beneath the heavy footfalls of a Cathay Sentinel, one of the many towering terracotta statues that accompanied Miao Ying's fleet. Yeah, this is right here. Like, yeah, but just imagine this giant sentinel, this giant stone soldier, essentially just walking in the streets of a merchant city. It's just like, yeah, this is normal in Cathay. Well, what are you talking about? It's normal in Warhammer China. No need to be afraid. These giant stone statues are here to save you from the Chaos Marauders. No, stop hiding behind the crates. Like, we're here to save you. And they're not even afraid of Miao Ying, who is also tall, but it's like it's tall by human standards. So it's just this funny paragraph of regular people being like absolutely terrified of giant stone statues moving on ships. And like there's this very important person in like beautiful robes walking out of the ship, and like no one's paying attention to her. And then once they stop being fearful of the stone statue, it's just like, oh, she must be important. I do like that this book gives you a map of where everyone is kind of going and like the direction everyone goes. Like this is the main character, Miao Ying, the favorite child, the Dragon Emperor, the cover lady for the book, traveling from halfway around the world, all the way from southern Warhammer China to Europe. So like she's basically traveling so long, and then you get the start of Beastmen killing Orion by trampling him, and just like, yeah, we're gonna be back up. And then, you know, Frido, the Chainmaker, the female Everchosen, the new Chaos characters, like, all right, we're gonna invade. It's not that, you know, it's super easy to invade. And then Marienburg, the Empire's like, oh no, we gotta defend. And they're not doing a good job about it. Here comes the hero. So yeah, I do enjoy the map that they give for this book, and like, you know, where everyone's going and how everyone's basically gonna be arriving for the battles in this book. It is pretty cool, like, you know, seeing where the home location is, where Harlem is, the home base, where Orion got trampled. Like, yep, like, yep, like, yep. The Beastmen are still a thing in this book. They went to Lorelorn Forest and trampled Orion. I do like the new lore for the diplomacy and the relationships between the Order factions for Cathay, and how the Cathay Dragon Emperor does not like the elves, mainly because he sees himself as like, oh, they might be able to subjugate me because they already subjugated my kind. So it's like, yeah, I kind of understand it. It doesn't really mention the dwarves that much, besides like, oh yeah, they do trade with them through the mountains. So like, I guess that's something. But I'm very surprised that a lot of the human factions like Talea, Astalia, Kislev, and you know, the Empire, and Bretonia, they get mentioned. And like, he actually likes them. He sends out his followers, his dragon children, to like ally with them, trade with them, become friends with them, basically help save the day with them. And I'm like, hey, that's pretty nice. One thing I love about this book is that Cathay is clearly shown and written to be the good guy faction. Well, one of the good guy factions. It's very clear that they have a good moral compass. They actually just want to help out with the world. And like, if you know the Warhammer world, yeah, that's a hard ball to do. The entire book is basically just showing you that Cathay is actually a force for good. And there's a passage that says the biggest thing that the Cathay gives to their allies when in the heat of battle is the sign of hope. And I'm like, yeah, they're the good guys. Like when you give the ending of the book that line, it's like, yeah, they're essentially the good guys. There hasn't been any new canon events where they do something bad or they betray their allies because of a grudge or anything like that. It's like, no, they just want to make a better world where they can trade with everyone. Like, let's all be friends. Basically, Fantasy China and Warhammer is trying to make Warhammer the old world, Friend Hammer the old world, or, Happy Hammer the old world. One trade or merchant at a time. That's why I love this faction. I want more lore for them because they're essentially the good guys. And hopefully in the future, Games Workshop doesn't make them grimdark. Is there something suspicious about the Dragon Emperor that you're not telling us? Is he working with the Skaven? Is he working with the Chaos Gods? Oh no, someone's been corrupted by Chaos in Cathay. No! Don't make us the evil faction because you have to have an evil version of Cathay to fight. Don't give us the Tau treatment where we have to become evil or grimdark. We get taken out by rats in the end times. Like, that's how insignificant we are. Just let us have this. Just let us have us being the side characters, not the good guys that no one pays attention to because we're not the Empire or the Elves or the Dwarves. Let us become the commander far side of fantasy. I like how Miao Ying, the cover lady, the one the book is about, I like how she isn't nerfed in the book. You actually get to see her deal damage to Chaos. Another up I'll give to the book is that they made the Cathay soldiers actually like have empathy and compassion for the Bretonian soldiers and Empire people they're saving. There's actually a paragraph in there where the Cathay soldiers feel sorry for what the Empire has to go through. They didn't have to do that. They could just said like, yeah, the fleet arrived in Marienburg and that was it. They went to battle with Frido and they won. They didn't have to make a sentence where they made the Cathay soldiers actually interesting. I wasn't expecting it. I'm surprised they actually gave characterization to the soldiers for Cathay. Yeah, that's why I want to root for them because they actually care. They're not in it for noble titles or because they want to become a Grail Knight or anything like that. Like, no, we actually care. Like, we actually care about what happens in the world. We want to make it a better place. I'm like, yeah. I'm happy that we Cathayans are morally superior to like 95% of the Warhammer world. I was surprised that Huan Bo, the Jade Dragon, and Yin Yin, the Sea Dragon, made an appearance in the book. At least Miao Ying isn't the only dragon that appears in the book. So that's pretty good. I'm actually surprised in this book they made it where Cathay actually pushes back Chaos all the way back to their home base in Holland. Cathay actually did pretty well. Another thing I wasn't expecting is that the Beastmen also get a fight with the Cathayans. The Beastmen, despite you can barely see them at the edge of the corner here, like they actually get a battle with the Cathayans, and like of course the Cathayans win. Like, this is the Chinese book for Warhammer, so I'm like, yeah, the Cathayans wins. It's their book. I'm very surprised by that because again, they trampled Orion for the Wood Elves and then they just lost to a bunch of regular soldiers from Fantasy China. So I'm like, yeah, that's a thing. Like, let's go, Cathay. We're better than the Wood Elves at least. Another thing I liked about the new lore is that magical items from Cathay are envied by allies and enemies alike. Just like, man, they are just so good. Like their technology, their magical items, they're just so good. There's no actual reason for why they're good. It just has like a one sentence lore bit where it's like, yeah, allies of Cathay and enemies of Cathay are jealous of them. Okay, yeah, I'm like, I would like a reason why, but I'll add that to why I like this book. Why? Sure, why not? Oh yeah, there's a description saying that Cathayan gunpowder is the best gunpowder in the Warhammer world. Oh, Cathayan gunpowder even rivals the Dwarven gunpowder too! Oh my goodness, blasphemy! That's going into the book! It describes how Cathayan gunpowder is very sought out and that it's more accurate and reliable than the Empire's gunpowder. Cathayan technology is the best technology in the world! Just don't tell the elves or dwarves! I do like how in the beginning of Cathay's perspective of the story, Mao Ying actually solves a logistics problem. If she's gonna take all these soldiers on her fleet to Marienburg, she has to replace those soldiers on the wall. Yeah, we can't leave the Great Wall undefended from the Chaos Marauders charging against it. What do we do? Like, yeah, what do we do? So she essentially charges a bunch of nobles with raising a new army for the wall. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty smart. I like this little bit in the 1C battle we get with Cathay against Chaos is that Cathay actually saves a couple of Empire ships when they arrive and then they annihilate the Chaos Wolf ships. They essentially have to escort the Empire ships back to Marienburg. I'm very surprised that this is in the lore because they could have just made it where the Chaos ships just destroy the Empire ships before Cathay can reach them. But no, Cathay actually saves a couple of Empire soldiers. And like, here's the thing, it's more than one ship. I'm happy they play more of the hero role, even at sea or whether in land battles. Like, I'm happy for them. Like, I'm happy that my favorite faction is getting a lot more wins. Yeah, so those are some of my favorite things from the book for the lore. And now we have to go for the downsides. It's not a perfect book. The lore is not perfect. I do have some gripes of the book. And it's one of those things where it's like, did you really have to do this? The biggest disappointment I have for the new lore we got in this book is that it essentially amounts to a side quest. When you read the first lore passage all the way to the ending passage, it essentially amounts to an expensive side quest in the grand scale of Warhammer Fantasy. We're finding the western portion of the Empire. We don't get to mention Magnus Appius, Teclis, the Dark Elves, or what happens with the new Everchosen. It's basically just two female leaders fighting each other in this book. Like, it doesn't really amount to anything. Cathay is actually the filler faction if you want to like make a tier list of all the most important factions in Warhammer. It's a side quest where Miao Ying, the eldest daughter of the Celestial Dragon Emperor, goes to Marienburg to help out a little bit and then just sails back to Cathay after she defeats the Chaos Champion. And yes, I do know that the ending to this book is ambiguous and it doesn't show that Fido lost the battle, but this is my video and I think Cathay won the battle because it's Miao Ying in the front. Plus, I can interpret this as her going back to Cathay after she won the battle of Marienburg. This could be her victory celebration. Yeah, Marienburg isn't even that important to the Empire. I spent $30 on this book. I'm saying that she won. Like, I need validation for this 48-page book that costs more than a hardcover. You couldn't just make the Cathayans the Mary Sues of the book. You had to give Chaos a win. Another bad thing is that Bretonnia gets a mention. Their problem is that they're fighting orcs. The closest thing to Bretonnia is in trouble and like they're just fighting orcs. Sorry, we can't help out right now. We're fighting orcs. You're closer to Marienburg than Reich. Like, you're closer to Marienburg than the capital of the Empire is. There's some peasants at least. I will bring it up again because I will not shut up about not liking Chaos. Like, this is a new faction for Warhammer. You want people to be excited, but you couldn't give them the final win in the end. You couldn't give this beautiful lady a win. You had to go with the Chaos route. You had to go with old Warhammer lore route. You couldn't give Miao Ying the final win. At least give Cathay a confirmed win. We're the filler faction and we don't even get a confirmed win. Ugh. And the sea battle doesn't count because it was a sea battle with a no-name sorcerer. At least write it so that Cathay managed to defeat a named character. I guess one win in a sea battle for filler content was better than nothing. At least our named character didn't get trampled to death. Whoop! A downside for the book that I don't like is the terminology, because the airships or the boats or the ships that can fly for Cathay are called sky junks. And I'm like, really? We have to give them such an obscene name called sky junks? And like, yeah, boats or ships are essentially just called junks. And I'm like, really? We couldn't just call them airships? Like, you know, it's a sky, like, you know, just sky ships. And then the other part is that the Cathayans call the warp ether, like, you know, Aether or Ether and not the warp. I know I glazed Miao Ying and the Cathayans for their sea battle, but at the same time though, I do recognize that the sea battle is essentially a filler battle because they needed something for that structure or that passage. They needed something to fill out the page essentially. Yeah, the sea battle kind of didn't need to be there. Miao Ying essentially has to clear the weather because a chaos sorcerer is making the weather bad for the ships. Basically just to show that Miao Ying, the favorite child of the Dragon Emperor, the defender of the Great Wall of Cathay, the Great Bastion, knows how to manipulate the weather or knows how to calm down the weather. She calmed down the weather and took out the Chaos Sorcerer. So it's like, did we really need that prelude to the battle with the ships and the Sky Lanterns and Skyships? But okay, I guess it's there. Like, you can clearly tell that a lot of the lore is just filler because they needed to fill the page up. But the Beastmen trampling Orion is not filler. I will keep that in. I will support the Beastmen 100%. One of the things I don't like what they did with the Order factions and the lore for Dawn of the Storm Dragon is that they made all of the Order factions essentially ignorant or like super stuck up. Because they specifically say that like the elves are in charge of the West, and the elves only help out when the elven ships get raided by Norska. They don't really help out when the human ships get raided by Norska or Frido. The Empire doesn't really help out because they're just infighting with each other for the crown. Dwarves don't help out because they're stuck in the mountain and don't want to go outside. And like the border princess Talea Astalia, they're just there because of power struggles. And like, yeah, majority of the Order factions don't help each other out. I don't like that because like, I like how Cathay is the hero of the story. Like, you know, they swoop in with their flying ships and boats in order to save the day. But I'm like, I would like it where the Order factions at least try to defend it and were successful. Like, actually try to communicate with each other. And like, you know, they tried to communicate with each other, but their forces weren't as powerful as the Chaos forces. It's a lore downside where they had to dumb down or nerf all of the Order factions in order for Cathay to be a standout, essentially. Now that makes me worried for when Cathay gets mentioned in another Arcane journal, if I'm going to read it in the future, where they're essentially just going to get nerfed. If we get nerfed in the Empire campaign, I'm like, I'm fine with that. We helped them out in this book. They can at least take the spotlight from us when they get the chance to win the day. I will always root for the Order factions to defeat Chaos, and if we get a win over Chaos, I'm like, I'm happy with it. I'm disappointed that the Chinese and Warhammer didn't do it, but hey, it's a win over Chaos. What a win! Way to go! Although I previously brought up that I didn't like the map that we got, I am disappointed that that's the only map that we got. Yes, there's only one map we got for this book. This is the only map we got for this book, and there are 2 pages where we discuss like the trade routes for Cathay and like the different routes they do to help out with the orderly factions. It's established in the book that Cathay has multiple trading routes with the Order factions and how we get there. Like, we can get to Kislev and the Empire with our airships. We don't actually get a map with the directions or like how they actually get there. We just get a vague picture of like, yeah, they just trade with them. We go trade with them by boats, we trade with them by walking there, we trade with them with caravan. Like, yeah, we just get very vague descriptions of it. In the future, I would love to see more trade maps and how they trade, more lore about what they trade, and whether or not, you know, the Cathays get the better deal or the Empire, Dwarves, or Elves. I'm disappointed and kind of sad that it's just in Westerland, it's just in the Marienburg city area. Like, you know, it's just in that type of area for the Empire. Cathay doesn't really push anywhere else. I would have liked Cathay interacting with the official Empire more than just Marienburg. I just don't like the new lore where the Dragon Emperor had to make an agreement with the elves, specifically the rulers of Oathwan, the Atlantis of the Warhammer world, that the Dragon Emperor only has control of the eastern part of the Warhammer world, and then the elves get to control all of the western parts, like managing all of the good guys stuff for the west. And the Dragon Emperor is forbidden from interfering with the West. Like, I guess they did this just to explain why Cathay doesn't appear all the time in the West. It's even specifically stated in the book that the Dragon Emperor doesn't follow the rule or doesn't follow this agreement because he knows that the elves don't follow it either. We already have the Dark Elves. We don't need the High Elves to be more incompetent than they already are. Warhammer China, you get the East, while we Europeans get the West. Then the West does not do anything against the Chaos Marauders coming to invade them. So it all depends on the Chinese traveling halfway around the world just to help out with one little battle. And that battle doesn't even amount to the Great Battle that's coming in 22 years. So overall, I would say I liked the book. I think it was a good purchase. I liked the lore. Everything with Cathayans that they added. I like, even with the whole elf thing, the new lore is pretty good. Like, the new lore for Warhammer China is pretty good. I like everything so far. Hopefully I'll like whatever they do in the next book. So if you like Cathay because of the artwork, what you've seen on Total War 3 Warhammer, or any other type of stuff on the internet, like, this is a good book to get into for the lore. This book is something I'll be proud of to put on my bookshelf. Like, you can ignore some of the chaos stuff and it wouldn't make this book worse for me. And chaos is canonically the faction that wins in the end for Warhammer, so it's like, whatever. One win for Cathay is better than 0 wins for Cathay. At least there's that. I would say I have more likes with the books instead of disappointments or anything I hated with it. Like, I enjoy more of the lore editions than I hate them. Thanks for watching this video. This is the first time I made a book review or a lore review video for Warhammer or any type of book, and like, yeah, I hope to make some more in the future, and hopefully they're better than this one, because this is the first of its kind, and like, yeah, I didn't really know the format or what I'm going to be saying. Hoping the next couple of videos are going to be better than the one you see right now. Maybe in the future I'll remake this one. maybe I'll hit that milestone where I remake one of my earlier videos. Well, see you in the next one. I just want to remind everyone that Orion got trampled to death by the Beastmen.